How do you leave a career that you don't love and break into tech?
Can I see myself doing this? No. I started asking myself, like, what do I like to do?
That's Jamisa Dixon. She earned a bachelor's in business and earned an MBA and a master's of science in finance, only to later realize that she was on the wrong career path. That question, what do I like, set off a bunch of activities that helped Jamisa break into the tech industry.
I was like, I just don't want to lose my job. I just don't want to lose my job. But I was like, what if I don't think about that and I think about where I want to be serious about this? I have to learn from the mistakes that I made. It's not the education piece. It's something else. It was a thing called career coaching. The discovery call went well. And then she said that price. And I said, oh no.
Yeah.
And then she said something. I didn't realize the piece that had affected my entire, not just my career, my life.
Her story provides a step-by-step template for anyone thinking about switching careers and breaking into tech themselves. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
I found your profile online on LinkedIn and it was singing out to me. Like, I mean, literally, like I saw it and I'm like, what is the story here? Like financial analysts, but then it looked like you were doing stuff in Scrum as well. And I just had to reach out. And I think when we talked, I felt really inspired by your story and like the transition you're making. So I wanted to have you on the show and I'm glad to have you here with me to sit down and talk about your career journey.
Thank you so much for having me. And I remember when you reached out and I was just like, I'm not there yet. And so I remember replying to you like, thank you so much. I'm so honored that you reached out to me, but I'm not there yet. But this kind of reaffirms my journey. And you were like, no. We can still talk. And I was like, okay.
and that's the thing. You said to me like it means a lot to show that the work you're putting in, like people are seeing it. Right. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that. And I would say you're like the prototype person I want to talk to. Obviously, I'm talking to people who have gone through and made the transition, but I think your story is cool because you're in it. And I'm looking at the stuff you're doing. I'm thinking, yo, other people need to be doing that. Whatever she's doing, however she's architecting that, whatever guidance you're getting, whatever you're doing, like people need to see this in action, not just the finished product. So I wanted to talk to you to understand like the process that you're going through, the ups, the downs, the ins and outs. Could you tell us a little bit about what's your professional background and maybe just give us a picture of like what you've been doing thus far?
So I guess I'll start back to undergrad. So graduated from undergrad.
What did you do undergrad?
I have a business management.
Yeah.
So like I thought I was gonna go into HR.
Yeah.
That was kind of the focus. And so I remember like trying to find internships, trying to find like HR assistants. And at this time, so around the time I graduated, the market was shifting to outsourcing these things. So I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
And then I was able to get a postgraduate internship through an organization here in the Dallas-Fort Worth called the Conrad Leadership Program.
Okay.
And so they do placements. Now, I found about it late. I could have been doing it the entire time I was
while you were in school,
but I didn't find out. But I was like, better late than never.
Yeah. And
I was placed at DART where I worked in the IT department.
Okay.
So I did help desk services, right? So they were doing this major upgrade of their hard drive. So we would download it on the WS deployment and then go to the different stations. And DART is our Dallas Area Rapid Transit.
Okay.
So the bus rail system for Dallas. And so did that. Was not interested, but I did it. And then I was with no job. And so for 3 months, I was depressed. I was disappointed because I'm like, all this work I did and I can't find anything.
Yeah.
And so one day I was like, Ma, I just need $5.
Yeah. And
I got on the bus. Now you got on the train and I rode to like all the major, I guess like the temp agencies. And I was like, I need a job.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is.
Hustling.
I mean, at the time, I couldn't even get a job as a customer service represent, like nothing.
And this is with a degree.
This is with a bachelor's degree. I was like, this is wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
And looking back, like, I'm so grateful for it because I just like I would get dropped off. Like, I remember I was in Irving, got dropped off on the bus line, walked to Kelly Services. It was like, I need a job. Had on a,
Yeah.
I need a job.
Yeah.
And that, and then I went to this other where I actually ended up landing. They had their own temp service.
Yeah.
And I did this assessment, and then I had an interview, got the interview. They went with another person who was more experienced.
Okay.
And so then I ended up accepting this job at this data entry place. It was not near a bus. The hours were weird, but I took it. I was like, I'm going to take it. And so around Thanksgiving, we were picking up a box from a local community center. And I got a call like, hey, so remember us that we went with someone else? Well, they left. Do you still want the job? I was like, yes. I was like, absolutely. I will be there Monday bright and early. Yeah. And so
what was the job for?
An office assistant.
An office assistant. Okay, so you've got the education, you've got the degree, and this is what you're able to get.
Yes.
Is the office assistant. So So you started there. Like, tell us, what was the journey?
So I started at the front desk, and my responsible was customer service. And my job was to know general information for multiple functions, like the first point of contact.
Okay.
And I took that seriously.
Yeah.
And, so when it was downtime, I would ask questions. I would read like documentation if they had documentation. I would go around and I would ask, so what do you do? So I would do that thing.
Listen to that.
So
that's
what do you do?
Already some knowledge right
and that's
there.
something that I give credit for my uncle. He's like you don't just do your job. You see what everybody else around you does because you can fill in a gap.
Yeah.
And so pretty much like I perfected that role and I started asking for more.
Yeah.
So I didn't just wait. I took initiative hey, can I help with that? Like, if you show me, I can pick it up and I can help you with that. And that eventually led for me, it was more of a quiet promotion, but I got put in another role.
That's a term I never heard before.
So you've heard of quiet quitting, right?
I've heard of quiet quitting.
So quiet quitting is when you just check out of your role, right? Yeah. Quiet promotion is they give you more responsibilities without the pay.
Okay.
So there was a situation that happened, got that. So this part of my story is like admin functions and things like that. But got that quiet promotion, I switched my function. So I started doing different things, interacting with, customers again, still interacting with customers, but in a different way. I was processing transactions for them, helping them. And so, by the way, I didn't mention I work in academic medicine.
Okay.
So
what's
like the healthcare?
That's the name of the
That's
company?
That's the industry.
That's the industry, academic medicine.
Yes.
Okay.
So did the transactions, right? And then they had this special program for people to do kind of like placements at different hospitals for training.
Yeah.
And so there was like a whole onboarding thing for people coming internally and a whole process for those that were going out.
Yeah.
And so towards the end of that time, I became responsible for the onboarding piece.
Yeah, okay.
Like making sure when people arrived, all the documentation, they made their payments, like coordinating with, other departments. So kind of like that, like education coordinator kind of thing. So that's what I ended up doing towards the end. And while I was doing that, I got the bright idea of I should have did what this professor told me to do and go into finance.
Okay.
So we're going to go back. There's a flashback.
Yeah.
If you've been watching my videos, there's a good chance that you're in your late 20s, your 30s, or your early 40s, and you're thinking about changing careers. I've spoken with many of you, and I know what your problems are. You're uncertain about tech career paths, you lack technical skills, you have concerns about the cost of re-educating, you lack the professional network, and you lack mentorship. Well, there are many tech boot camps that could get you into tech pretty quickly. My personal favorite is Springboard. If you think that's the right pathway for you, use the link provided and get $1,000 off your tuition. But that's not the only pathway into tech. Did you know that you can break into tech for 1/10 the cost of a boot camp? The majority of what you'll learn in a boot camp can be easily learned online for free or at minimal cost. Seriously, people are securing entry-level tech positions every day, all without the burden of a costly CS degree or a full-time boot camp commitment. My personal mission is to give you the resources that you need to break into a tech career in the shortest amount of time with the smallest possible financial burden. If that sounds like something you're interested in, download my free How to Shift into Tech guide. With that guide, you can start learning and begin your journey into tech all by yourself. And if you need additional help, I've got a range of support options available to help you launch your tech career.
I was in my finance and my financial economics class, and he was like, "You really should change your major." And I was like, "Sir, I am trying to get out of here." So I graduated in 3 years. Like it was That's not fast. A game.
Yeah,
it was not a game because I came in with credits, and I was already upset. I had to take out loans. I'm like, I'm just trying to get out of here.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, man, I should have did the finance. I'm gonna do the finance, and I got the bright idea at the time. I was like, I'm gonna take the GMAT, and I'm gonna go to Howard.
Yeah.
Like I want the HBCU experience.
Yeah.
So got to the point, purchased the GMAT book.
Yeah.
Was gonna start studying. And then my mom was like, no. Look at this. Like, don't spend that kind of money. You're already in debt, right? Just like, this is cheap, and that was Texas A&M Commerce.
Yeah.
And they had a satellite campus here in Dallas. So I was like, fine, I'll, do it. So I worked full time, went to grad school at night.
Wow. That's hard.
Then in the middle of grad school, I was like, what's extra 4 credits?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
So I graduated with 2 master's degrees because they didn't have like concentrations really or majors. So I want the finance piece, but the MBA was just an MBA.
So that was just like what, another class to get the MBA?
So it was no. So I was originally going for the MBA. So I graduated with the MBA first.
Okay.
But there were 4 shared classes, and if you did them, they counted for both degrees.
Gotcha.
And because I wanted to be a finance major, I ended up doing the 4 extra courses so I can get the Master of Science in Finance.
Gotcha. Okay. So you educated up. You stacked. Like you got degrees left and right.
Yeah.
But you say, like a little bit of like, maybe I shouldn't have those degrees.
Well, I don't regret it. Everything happens for a reason, right? It served my purpose because I'm currently in the role that I wanted.
Yeah.
Because at that time, when I decided to go back to school, I wanted to be a financial analyst.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I felt the only way I could do that was to go back to school.
Why did you want to be a financial analyst? I kind of want to talk about that for a little bit. Like what?
So I've always been fascinated by numbers.
Okay.
Like, I didn't know what STEM was. I just know I liked math and I liked history.
Yeah.
That's probably why the professor was like, hey, like, you really good at this stuff. Like, cause I was like, and we were doing our equations by paper and I was just like killing it. Or I would go get tutoring if I didn't know. Like, I don't mind asking for help.
Yeah.
And I would go to the SSI supplementary instruction from like a peer that, was a grade ahead. Like, I was going to get it.
Yeah.
And then my major in grad school was towards investments.
Okay.
So I thought I was going to make the shift into like investment analyst. And I remember I was in my risk and derivatives class. It's going to make sense.
I mean, I'm just, you say risk and derivatives and my eyes start like, woo, you get into some complex stuff.
Yeah, the things that like, it's like a type of instrument where like you have an underlying thing, like it can be a put or it can be like another stock or it's something like, or hedge on top of something. Like it gets real crazy. And I just remember the professor talking about how important it is to select the right strategy and things like that. And I started having an existential crisis in the middle of class. I was like, wait a minute. Like if I miscalculate or I put in the wrong thing, like that's somebody's retirement. Yeah. That's somebody's whole life. Like I can't do that.
Yeah.
I started like freaking out. Like internal, like I was having an internal monologue. Like it might have looked like I was paying attention. I was like, Lord, no.
Too much responsibility.
I can't do that. I love people too much.
Yeah. Interesting.
There was another class that I had to take, and it was financial planning, which is the people side of it.
Okay.
So you have the people that do the trading or set the trading up, and then you have the people that do the like financial planning, the estate planning.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
That's
like I can do that.
Yeah. So that's more like interacting with people and helping them.
Helping people.
Yeah. Okay.
So one was technical.
Yeah.
And one was people focused.
Yeah.
They interact somewhat with technical things, like depending on what company you work for. But it was all about the people.
Yeah.
And I was like, this feels better.
Yeah.
So, got through my MS by the skin of my teeth. Thank the Lord, because we had to do a comprehensive exam, and I failed that mug the first time because it was during Easter. And I had to retake it, and then they were like, "You only get 2 tries. Like third time, you got to go through a committee and justify why." I'm like, "Oh, I'm not about to."
That's crazy.
Like I didn't spend too much time. No, I like buckled down, got disciplined, took that exam, graduated. So, thank you, Jesus. And so fast forward doing that. So I got the degree.
Yeah.
And at this time, I love my team. The leadership was not so much.
So you're in the same company right
now? I'm
place.
still in the same company. I did not tell them until I was almost done with the second degree.
Okay, so you were doing this, and they weren't even supporting it. They weren't paying for it.
I
You were
was
doing
afraid
it by yourself.
I was afraid to tell them because I felt like I wasn't going to be supported.
Why is that?
I don't know, because when I finally told them, they were like, "You could have told us that." Like I was just very paranoid because I knew like there wasn't anywhere to go. Like there wasn't any mobility where I was, and I was like, how's this gonna affect my relationships? Like, how's this gonna affect my job?
Interesting.
Like, because I came into the role in operating and surviving feet.
Yeah.
So I kind of kept that mindset throughout my whole. Like, I just don't want to lose my job.
Yeah.
I just don't want to lose my job.
So did you think that if they found out you were getting this education, you were bettering yourself through that degree, that they thought maybe you might want to shift and go somewhere else or do something different, and that's what you were concerned about?
Part of that, but most important, my thing is always not being treated like I didn't want to be treated differently.
Yeah, okay.
Simply because going back to experiences in childhood, because gifted, like I was a gifted child. Like I did the talented gifted, did the Vanguard magnet thing. So I didn't want to be treated different.
Okay.
But they didn't, and they were like, "You trip, it's all in your head."
You're fine.
Because of the things with leadership, there's another leader who is my current manager that is on the way to retirement.
Yeah.
They deserve it though. They deserve it. They've worked really hard. Yeah. They were like, "Come work for me." Like, I understand. I heard you got your degree. I'll teach you everything you need to know. So this is
when they found out that you had gone and done this. Then there's an opportunity for you.
Well, see. It was a new thing happening on that side in that particular department. Like it was something new.
Okay.
So he needed more people. Okay. And so he was like, "I've always liked how you worked. You work really hard. Like you're coachable, you're trainable. Like come work for me.
Yeah. And
we can get you out of this situation."
How did that feel?
I was like, "Okay, please help me," because people were leaving.
Yeah.
People were leaving.
Because of the culture.
The culture. Yeah. It was a big shift.
Yeah.
And I wrestled with it because I'm like, yes, but I'm like, oh, but the people I'm leaving behind. I remember I was tearful about it. Because again, I care about people.
Yeah.
I was an accountant. I was learning the accounting things of how things function, and that's kind of what started that. And so accountant, moved up in accountant too. Back in 22, I became, we all got promotions, and so I'm a financial analyst now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been very interesting. We've grown, the team has grown, like some people leave, but we replaced them. But people have progressed for the better, and they like, man, I'm glad I started here first before I went to that other department because I learned a lot here. Great team. Love my team. We're very close. Yeah. And I've been fortunate in my journey. Like I was close to both of my teams.
Yeah.
Like the spirit of collaboration is there.
Yeah.
And I can feel safe, like if I don't know something, right? Or I operate in my strengths and this person operates in their strengths, and like the things that we're not as strong, we can support each other. That cross functionality. Yeah. Like, so that's a thing as well.
It definitely, you get the sense, listen to you talk, that you really care about people. I think you really like your job or your company as well. Like that comes across too, that like you enjoy you want to work with people you like, and it seems like you're around quality people.
Yes.
So tell me, like, you're happy with where you are, you're happy with the people. Why switch into a different space? Like why are you going through this transition now? Like what's brought that about?
Pandemic.
Okay.
So the pandemic made me realize, like I'm sure it made many people realize, how much you go through the motions.
Okay.
And I remember being like, Lord, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm about to sit here and like let you do it. And I remember thinking, like, I had learned, like I've learned this financial analyst stuff, and I was like, do I really want to do this for the rest? Like the trajectory is clear.
Yeah.
Like it's laid out. And I was like, can I see myself doing this? I was like, nah. And I was like, what do I like? I started asking myself, like, what do I like to do?
What was it about the pandemic that made you start asking yourself those questions?
Because I wasn't distracted. I wasn't like worried about the day to day. Like I had to be in my house or apartment and just be there, working from home, of course.
Yeah.
But nothing going on.
Yeah.
No social, no nothing. It's everybody's in survival mode.
Yeah.
And I already lived there. Like I was already used to survival mode.
Yeah.
Like Bane was like, you like the dark because I was born into it. Like that's how I operated. I always operated in survival mode. So like and I was an introvert too, so the pandemic did not. All I could do was like think.
Yeah.
Think about things like other aspects of my life as well. I just never thought about because I was like, I just don't want to lose my job. I just don't want to lose my job. But I was like, what if I don't think about that and I think about where I want to go?
Okay. So you had time to kind of park the survival mode kind of thinking patterns and probably think more expansively about what you really wanted.
Right.
Okay, what was that like? Like, tell us about that process, like kind of thinking through these things.
So I guess I started asking, like, what are the threads? Like, what do I really like to do? Is it so much the numbers, or is it I like improving process? Because I had started doing those things, but I realized I'd done those things in the previous roles.
Yeah.
Like I found a way, if it was small, like, hey, instead of like if we can shave 2 business days off of this by doing this and going to another, department, like, hey, are you willing to make this adjustment so that we can have this better turnaround for our customers? Like I was doing that. Or is it better to scan as I go or scan and batch? Like those are the kind of things I was doing. And then in the accounting and finance space, I was like, do we have to do this reporting this way? Can we tweak it here? Can we? And then when the new people came in, they had, different experiences and different things. And we kind of put those things together and we did it together.
Yeah.
Or I'd be like, I have an idea of this is how we can show payroll. And they'd be like, yeah, like, I like that. Like, you think, the manager, let's run it through and make sure that our customers can understand what's going on, right? Or our stakeholders, right? And so did a project where my team and I like created the documentation. I had to, write down the steps of how you do this thing because there was nothing in place. And this thing got like implemented across the organization. Like if you don't know how to do this, because for compliance purposes, we have to analyze and reconcile on a monthly basis. If you don't know how to do it, this is like the standard.
Yeah.
And so they led that charge to my manager, and he gave it to us. And like now, like it's in our institutional or organizational documentation.
Yeah.
And then like kept perfecting it. I did some professional development things through my company, whereas the Aspiring Leaders Program.
Yeah, okay.
I had to do a project, and I was like, they just started talking to IR, which is what we call our IT department, is talking about this new thing called Analyzing Excel.
Analyzing Excel.
So it's a function in Power BI.
Yeah.
So Power BI acts as a conduit between the data warehouse and Excel.
Yeah.
So you, instead of like manually creating pivot tables, you're using like data, like measures and dimensions, like pretty much taking like multiple Excel things in the form of the data warehouse and creating tables. And I was like, I went to my manager, I was like, hey, I think I want to use this for us. Like, I think the way they're describing this is we can update these reports by a click of a button. And at this point, we were starting to scale in how many departments we serviced in it. And, my supervisor was like, this is too much. Like, it takes too long. We have too many departments. And so I was thinking about those things. Again, process improvement.
Yeah.
And then I had kind of started learning about some lean things. And so like,
well, how did you start learning lean?
Because it's healthcare.
Yeah.
So lean.
Yeah.
Is very waste reduction.
They use that's a methodology they already
methodologies like, like especially in like patient care, supplies, things like that, but use it on our side, the support services side as well. And I like researched like the PDCA or PDSA, Plan, Do, Check, Plan, Do, Study Act.
Yeah.
And so I kind of use that method to build out. And at the same time, I was also exploring and learning about Scrum.
How did you hear about Scrum?
So the person, they don't want credit, but I'm giving them credit anyway. So back to when I was thinking about what I'm going to do with my life, career-wise, during the pandemic. Initially, I was like, well, maybe it's a business analyst. So I remember having one-on-ones like, I think I want to be a business analyst. And my manager was like, you need to go figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
Don't just blurt stuff out. Like, learn about it.
Stop saying stuff.
He was like, you need to be, I don't believe you. Like, he was like, okay. There was a business analyst, like a leader that we worked closely with. And I kind of saw the things that they were doing. And I was like, that's kind of cool, which made me say, like, I think I want to do that. And so I actually reached out to them and set up a chat, learned about their story, kind of like we're doing now.
Yeah.
They had a finance background.
Okay.
And then made the transition. But prior to them being a business analyst, they were like, yeah, so I was a product owner. And I was like, what's a product owner? I said, what is a product owner? Like, what is that? And they were like, it's like in Scrum and Agile methodology. You should look it up.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I got on my good sis Google.
Yeah.
Like, Google's my girl.
Yeah.
I like her a lot. And I was like, this still doesn't make sense to me. And so I stumbled on a Clubhouse. And so this is, 21 to early 22, like Clubhouse was like popping. Like everybody named my own Clubhouse. And so it was a shout out to Professor Timmy. So Professor Timmy had like a room like every day. And then she had like recruiters, but she would talk about the different things because she's been in technology for like over 3 decades, I think. And she was talking about, like you can learn Scrum, you can learn business analysis, you can learn cyber, like all these things. And she broke down what Scrum was. And I was like, okay. And then I started looking up on homeboy YouTube, YouTube University.
Yeah, YouTube University. I know it very well.
Yeah, so started looking it up on there. I'm like, okay. I attended because in the research things, things pop up. And somehow, I can't remember how, I landed on the Blackest Tech virtual conference.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I guess I'll go. And I signed up and went to I was like, I've never seen anything like this before. And like, you see all these people like, oh, I want to get into this. I'm like, I know only thing I know about tech is web development because my cousin Chris, shout out to Chris, has been like in tech. He's the only person I knew. Him and like my uncle did like IT, like kind of support stuff, like because of the nature of his job, like engineering, but it's like, but also IT as well.
Yeah.
But somebody that's actually in tech, my cousin Chris.
Yeah.
And he did the coding stuff.
Okay.
So that's all I knew.
That was your idea of what tech is what you saw from Chris.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. And then like towards the end of the conference, because it was like 4 days, I think, someone was like, hey, I'm holding a 2-day certification class for the SAFE. You should check it out. It's free. Operative word was free.
Yeah, that's
operative word was free.
The way you said free, I was like, she went.
Yeah. I sure did. I said, well, where do I sign up? Yeah. Like, so I signed up.
Did you know what SAFE was at the time?
No, I had no idea.
You were just like,
I was like, I looked up the acronym and like I did not go to the website.
Yeah.
I just knew it was Scaled Agile Framework. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Kendall Thompson, black man.
Okay.
Taught the 2-day class. And so you would think like I learned like the highlights of Scrum, but then I threw myself into SAFE.
Yeah, you went deep.
Oh my gosh.
You went real deep.
I was like, oh, this is cool. You know, like this is cool. And so at the end of it, they were like, okay, so you have to pay for the license. And I was like, well, this was a great 2 days. Because what I don't have is that kind of money. I know a couple.
It's not cheap either.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah.
So a couple of people signed up right away and they were like ready to take it. And I'm like,
yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, good for you.
And so then at the end of the class, Kendall was like, there's a raffle. Like somebody sponsored a spot. He was like, if y'all want to take it, sign up. So I was like, sign me up.
Yeah.
And I got it. He was like, nobody else like,
yeah.
I was like, I've never like people turn down money like, but so you got it. So
nice.
I was like, thank you.
So you're certified SAFE. Like what?
I was at the time SAFE 5.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, like that was great. And I tried to do a little studying and then I took it and I failed.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, but I can afford that retake.
Yeah.
So I pay for the retake, study my butt off, like clicking on every single article, like sidebar. If you are taking SAFE, read those articles, even the ones you think that don't matter.
Yeah.
Click the hyperlink and read it. Like seriously, like studying the whatever tier is not enough. Click on those links.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way. Okay. So I studied and then I passed and I was like, I'm SAFE certified.
Yeah.
And I remember calling Kendall like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
He's like, and I was like, and at the time I'm still going to the clubhouse. I'm hearing about PSM and CSM.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so do I need to take one? He was like, no, this is more strenuous, so you don't have to do that. And I was like, okay. And so then I was like, okay, if I'm going to be serious about this, I have to learn from the mistakes that I made in undergrad and in grad. Like I'm like, there's something like, it's not the education piece. It's something else missing.
It's really interesting that you bring that up too. And I want to let you follow that thread, but I just wanted to say like a lot of people will get a certification and it's like the same thing you asked, like what now? Like, cause it's like, I'm certified in this thing. Like, what do I do? Like, what do I do after this? And there's a whole lot more, which I expect you're probably going to talk about.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot more that you need to do to actually move on. So continue on. What happened after that?
And I remember I told my manager first. I was like, I got this certification because remember he told me go on somewhere like you need to be serious. He was like, what's that? And I was like, it's kind of like project management a little bit. And he's like, okay, and he had to look it up. And he's like, all I know is about is lean because again we work in hospitals, so lean. That's all we know, right? I continued to go to Clubhouse and I was like, and they talked about this thing. Like I had people look at my, resume and things like that. But it was this thing called career coaching. I was like, okay.
So you had never heard of career coaching?
I knew about career services, and they didn't do anything but like tell you to sign up for a Monster account.
Yeah.
And like, but like, I was like, what is this career coaching thing? And like, I connected with one, and we stayed in touch for a while. But again, like, money.
Yeah. How did you find the career coach?
I did some shopping.
Okay. So you went out and looked for career coaches.
So I started like, looking at, like, I listened to a couple within Clubhouse, and then I found a community. So what I really did is found community.
Okay.
Bridges in Tech is the first one that I did. And
I got so many questions. How did you find them? Was it just Google searching?
No, Bridges in Tech was in Clubhouse, and they moved from Clubhouse to like, she established, Janine Udo. She established her own like website.
Yeah.
And like it was privatized it through Zoom.
Yeah.
It's public, but like she just migrated off of there because she was like, I want to do something a little different.
Yeah.
Like a happy hour. And it was called a happy hour. And so they had like Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Central, 6 Eastern. And I remember at the time, we did a little one-on-one coaching, and she was like, helping me out. And then
did you reach out to her directly and say,
so
hey,
we went, well, no, she's like offered.
Yeah.
So like we would have conversations, or I would listen to like guest speakers that were talking about their stories and things like that. And there was one particular person that talked about their thing about agile coaching and things like that. And I'm like, that kind of sounds similar to that Scrum Master thing.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to her, and I reached out to the guest, and she had a pretty linear, like she went from project management to that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I haven't heard anybody that's besides the other guy that's from finance to this, right? I talked to the founder of Bridges and Tech, and she sent me a link she's like, my friend is doing a challenge. Like, you should check it out. So that was a small entry fee. And I was like, man, like, who is this? Because she was talking about mindset. I was like, mindset, like
who's thinking about that? Yeah.
And like I went all the days, and like, it's just like, if you're ready to change your life, like, message me on LinkedIn and we'll do a discovery call.
Yeah.
And I'd done a discovery call before, and it didn't go so hot.
Yeah.
And so I did reach out. EC Mimin. I don't want to mess up your name. It's Fulfilled. I'm gonna say Fulfilled. EC, I love you. The discovery call went well, and then she said that price, and I said, oh no.
Yeah.
And then she said something like, she was like, because I'm trying to be disciplined. I'm on this debt-free journey. Like, I'm budgeting. I'm very analytical, right? So I'm like super analytical. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And she was like, because it is faith-based.
Yeah.
It's very holistic.
Yeah.
So it's just, and she was like, you're making an idol out of this.
Ooh.
Like what if God is telling you to let it go? And I said, oh man. And so I remember I prayed about it. I was like, Lord, like, this is a lot of money.
Yeah.
This is an investment. I'll like, so take out a lot of money.
Yeah.
Scratch
it's
that.
An investment.
This is an investment. Something I've never done before. I remember I talked to my mom. I was like, Mom, like, is this going to affect our, she's like, no, like, as long as we have this XYZ threshold, we should be good. Cause I was like, okay. I was like, I'm ready. And I was like, I made that first investment. I laid down.
Yeah. Yeah. Had to take a break.
Yeah.
Breathe.
I said, I'm gonna do this transaction, and I'm gonna go lay down.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I was overwhelmed, but like jumped right into it. And oh my gosh, I'm not gonna talk about the details of it because it's a proprietary, and I think that there are women of color that want to explore Fulfilled and want to like experience transformation. Like, EC is that coach. Yeah. But I will say, I didn't realize the piece that had affected my entire, not just my career, my life was mindset.
Tell us.
Tell us. how I thought about myself, the negative things I would say, like discounting myself. I still work on that. I would tell myself no before somebody else tell me no because of the fear of rejection and things like that. Or like what I thought about money, how I felt about money. Because at one point I felt like it was evil to have money because, you know, that's what you told in the church. And then as I like went back and read for myself, it's like, no, the love of money.
The love of money. Yeah.
The love of it, not it. Because it's just simply
and
a
that's
resource.
a big distinction.
A lot of people don't catch a lot. Because words mean things.
They do. And I like what you said too. It's a resource.
Yes. It's not in my life, it is not the source.
Yeah.
And that was something that was like, it kind of broke me free a little bit. And I was like, oh, I can like pursue. Because I was like, if I just stay tempered, you know, like my mind about being expansive, and I had limiting beliefs at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting to actually kind of wrestle with, because you can see that you're doing these things and taking steps forward. Yeah. But I remember what you said about survival mentality.
Right.
And I heard survival mentality. I'm like, there's a lot that's connected to that. That's really deep. That keeps you in a space of just trying to survive, just trying to get by.
And mediocrity. Yeah. Like, let's call it a thing.
Yeah.
Like, you will stay mediocre.
Yeah.
Or below mediocre. You will not fulfill your potential. You can't fulfill your purpose if you're in that mindset.
Yeah.
And it was not only like understanding that, it's like, what is it like, getting to the root of it. And I think, and then it caused me to go back into therapy.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I thought I had broken some of this stuff, and I got to go back.
Yeah.
So it's all connected.
Yeah.
Right. Did that, got clarity. Because I knew I was like, I think I want to do the Scrum Master thing, right? But like getting clarity on how my life came into this point, and just establishing my the vision, or a hypothetical vision, because we have the right to change our mind.
Yeah.
I think that was another thing for me. I'm like, man, like I must look like I don't have it figured out. Like I'm tripping if I decide to make this pivot.
Yeah.
And I think that holds people back too as well. But you have the right to change your mind.
Especially after having gone and gotten the education. Like you, and I mean that's hard work. Like, let's not discount that, to hold down a job and get a degree, and you are telling the world,
deal with life,
and dealing with life at the same time. And so you are telling the world, like, I'm doing this finance thing, like this is what's happening. And so now you're talking, I did actually like change my mind, and that's okay to do that.
But so, because this was so foreign, right? I was like, I look crazy. Like, this is what I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
But I got clarity. I'm like, no, all of this stuff makes sense. Like I said, like I told you earlier, people. Like people.
Yeah, that's a big thread. I can see it.
People, like process improvements.
Yeah.
Like identifying gaps. Like all of it comes together. And so that's kind of how I landed here now. And on like going through that, I used Good Sis Google again, and I found my first actual community of practice.
Okay.
Agile Water Cooler.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm sure we're going to get into it a little later, but I did not put it's on Discord. I did not put my face because I didn't want any bias.
Okay. You were concerned there would be?
Yes. Because from what I was told, like tech was predominantly white spaces.
Yeah.
And so here I am. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm curious. And I was like, I don't want how I look.
Yeah.
Now, they'll figure it out when I come off of mute.
Yeah.
But, like you could see the image before you ever hear my voice.
Yeah.
So I went with like the default. I still have it, right? Because I'm like, I'm still going into spaces, and I'm like, I just want to be in the space.
Yeah.
And like, you see this robot emoji.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
So did you find in that community that is it predominantly white, or is it diverse? Like, what did you actually find?
Was, but oh my gosh. When I say they were so welcoming.
Yeah.
And that's the agile space, right?
Yeah.
Like they are, I can't speak for other areas and ecosystems within tech, but the agile space,
yeah,
very collaborative,
yeah,
like very welcoming. Like you, everybody didn't have it figured out.
yeah,
That's why they were there.
yeah.
It's like, man, I'm dealing with this. How did you deal with this? Have you ever had a situation with this? And
So-
I would just sit back and listen.
Is this community? Is it like a product owner or a scrum master or like
Any
any role within agile?
Any agile.
And are these? Is this a global network or
Yes.
is it okay?
So I call her the Queen, Erin Davies. She's Irish.
Okay.
She's based in the UK, agile coach, but like she has a boldness to her, how she deals with clients. Like she's landed a new role and she's loving it, but like just the things, how her approach to coaching and like being like how important the agile principles and values, because she like her wheelhouse is she's very holistic or agnostic, as she says in her approach. So she's not just stuck on Scrum.
Yeah.
And that was another thing I learned. Like there's more to life than Scrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like agile has different frameworks and different methods, and then there are engineering practices. And so like there are people that didn't come from a technology background that are agilists, agile practitioners, and then there were people that came from it, like that were software developers and worked their way. So it's like all different walks of life. Yeah, it's just a safe and psychological safety. It was a safe environment, and they have lean coffee style calls on Mondays, and I didn't feel stupid. Like,
okay.
I did ask, like, what do I need to do to, like, how can I find this? Like, can I, like, what do I need to do? And from there, I've gained, like a couple of mentors through there. So, yeah, like, and they are not Black.
Yeah. It's, I think something, and this is why I really wanted to talk to you, because I knew just from in our short call that you really take the initiative in a way that I don't see a lot of people doing. And I think you do it by injecting yourself in certain spaces and following like a little curiosity thread. Like, what's this?
I'm naturally curious.
Yeah.
I used to get in trouble as a kid. Like my dad would like, the girl asked too many questions. Like, because I was just curious. I wanted to know. If I want to know, I go find it out. I'll go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
If I want to find something out. And that's kind of how I took this approach to learning more about Agile, learning more about Scrum, like went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I would hope other people do take that. Like, and I know there's different philosophies about what it is and like how simple it is. But as I've learned, it's simple if you're doing the events, but to maintain relationships, get buy-in, like knowing how to like adapt, because it's adaptive solutions to complex problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that takes a lot.
Yeah.
That's not easy. Because people will people.
Yeah.
People.
They be people in.
People will people. That's not easy.
Yeah.
It can't, I mean, eventually when you get to a level of, self-organization or self-management, I'm sure it's easy. But like, that's just not what I see two different things to it. But yeah, like, so with the combination of investing in myself that way, it gave me more courage, right? Like to like you said, go into these, insert myself into these spaces, reaching out to people, setting up informational meetings. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
So the same thing I was doing at work.
Yeah.
I'm like doing it on a global scale now.
Yeah.
Like I've talked to people from here as far as New Zealand.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Shout out to Tom.
Yeah.
Tom Mullins.
We're going to have so many links in the description to all these people and communities that you've mentioned. I feel like there's so many resources that
I haven't
you found.
Bridges in Tech always has a special place in my heart. Agile Water Cooler. I'm in Baddies in Tech, which when you do a founder series, you need to talk to Allie.
Yeah.
Allie from Baddies in Tech.
Yeah.
She's the founder. Shannon Morales from Trabaja. That's another community I'm part of. Like she's out of Philly. Like she does Diversitech. If you've heard of that. Like it's so many.
Yeah.
And then of course, let me jump back a little bit. So I have these communities, and I'm like, okay, I'm learning this stuff, but I need to apply it.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is a sidebar. Like I told them when I first got in there, and I finally got the courage to speak, I was like, yeah, I'm certified safe, and they were like,
oh.
Ew. They were like,
I knew it.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
It was like, I was like, I don't know. And they were like, and I was like, I didn't know. I asked the question. They were like, oh, this is enough. And they were like, no, you need to take, like I would ask which one is better, CSM, PSM. And I ended up going with PSM.
Yeah.
Because that's what my mentor did. I did this, I would call it a boot camp or a 6-week course called Agile MBA. So please link that in the description box because it's free.
Okay.
It's a nonprofit, and they teach you the why behind Agile.
Okay.
And product development and, the psychology of it and things like that. And then on Fridays, they do like case studies. And you kind of applying what you learned in the week with that. Like, it's really great. Really great people, Ed and Jim, great people, and all the volunteers that keep that thing running.
Yeah.
And I took that twice because the first time I took it, I didn't know you had to be like on call to get the certificate. And I was mad, like, where is my certificate?
Yeah.
So I retook it.
What do you mean on call?
So like they have a Zoom call.
Oh,
and I'm like, okay, I didn't know. I would watch the replays.
Yeah.
And so when it was at the end, people getting certificates, I'm like, where's my certificate?
Yeah.
They're like, you have to be on the Zoom call. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I would like log on the Zoom call and then do the replay.
Yeah.
The second time I took it.
I feel like I missed something and I really want it.
Okay.
Why are you doing all this?
Because like, I just want to, when I like something, I'm a philomath. Like, I love learning.
Yeah.
And like, when I'm really interested in something, I like immerse myself in it.
Yeah.
Like finances. Like, I learned personal finance. Immerse myself in it.
Yeah.
Agile. Scrum. Like, I'm immersing myself because I'm like, the cert is not enough.
Yeah.
The cert is not enough.
Yeah.
Like, whether you do the PSM, CSM, like whatever one it's not enough. You have to get, like, there are people that have been agilists for years and they're still like continuous learning is a part of the nature of the role. So that's why I did it. And it's good to learn the why behind anything that you do. And because I'm like, I like people and I want to equip them to deliver value or just be better people. Like, that's why I'm dropping these resources because I want people to like know, like, I'm not hiding this. Like, it's not for me. My hands are open. Like, like anybody I've spoken with, I'm like, here. Like, what you do with it is you, but I'm not going to withhold this information. Like, if I learn something new, I want to share it with people.
Yeah.
I did that. And then when I took the second time, I'm like, I actually want to get some practice in. How can I actually apply this? Because again, it came back to the financial constraints that there were programs where you could, pay, but I'm just like, I've already made this investment in this. I don't know if I can make an investment again, like at this magnitude at this time.
Yeah.
And so someone DM'd me because after the Agile MBA, I actually started facilitating a study group so that we could do the continuous learning thing and study together so we could feel more confident taking the exam. And some people did it. And I did it and then asked for permission. Yeah. I was like, by the way, I created this channel so we can come in here and like do a study group. Like, hope it's okay. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, it's fine. And so I still see the channel and then I'll go back sometimes and And my hope was like, it didn't have to be led by me, but it was just something, an initiative started. And I was hoping that it continued like after.
Yeah.
Someone DM'd me and was like, oh, check out this this nonprofit called, they partnered with them called SVPM, Silicon Valley, or Agile and Scaled Value Project Management. And they have a program called Silicon Valley Project Management Scrum Program. So I applied for it after I finished the second time.
Yeah.
Did the interview. We really don't take people that work full time because, you know, it's a risk that they won't commit. And I was like, I'm telling you, I am here because I want to learn this stuff.
Wow.
And so I let my employer know. So I was like, I'm still gonna do my work, but sometimes these calls are during, you know, and they're like, as long as you get your work done.
Yeah.
So I started off as a developer, which it was like no code.
Yeah.
Right. But still these accountabilities on the Scrum team, right? So like I'm taking everything I've learned and like now I'm actually applying it.
What's the time commitment? What were they looking for from you to be a part of it?
So they wanted to make sure you could do the events and things like that. Sign up for the like attend, like especially as a developer, like attend every Scrum event.
Yeah.
There are some modifications to it because it is volunteer based.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they're like, we want to know that.
Do we say the event? You mean the ceremonies that they were running?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like using Scrum Guide 2020. They don't say ceremonies; they say events. So
I'm behind. I don't know anymore. Events.
Yeah. So like sprint, like backlog refinement sprint.
Yeah.
Backlog refinement is not an event, but that's something that's very important because that kind of teaches the team how to do sizing.
Yeah.
So they do sizing, and then like of course sprint planning, the actual sprint. We had asynchronous and live daily like scrums. And then of course, you know, you have your review and your retro. So did that on the team, did my part, and the product owner was like, I like the way you work. Because like I had finished my PBI and I was like, is there anybody else I can help? And they were like, I like the way you work. Would you be open to being the associate product owner? Because they did kind of like an apprentice thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I really came here to do the developer thing so I could become a Scrum Master. I don't know about this APO stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, just think about it, you know, like, and I was like, but I thought you had to be here for like 3 sprints before you can even, she was like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do that
We'll
part.
figure that out.
Like, just say, and I thought about it and I was like, you know, if I take this, you know, I hear that Scrum Masters and product owners don't have the best relationship at times. And I was like, if I can put myself in the shoes of the product owner, it'll make me a better Scrum Master.
Yeah.
So I said yes, which led to me becoming the first developer in history that jumped from developer to like an apprentice.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. What's the product that you what's the thing that you're producing as a team?
So content, administration, and management. So we managed the content, and at the time we were responsible for creating the content.
Yeah.
Once I became product owner, had a product launch, like we were going into a new medium, which is video content. Like nothing fancy like this.
Yeah.
Just a simple video kind of teaching the things like tools or whatever topic that, you know, the developers, because I kept them in mind. And I was very nervous, like as an apprentice, I had to write PBI from scratch. I was like, oh, I don't know. But I did some research, went to YouTube University, and I did the hypothesis type. Like, if we do this, this is the result. That's pretty much like the gist. Like, you can look it up and get the actual technical term. And I did that because it was an ideation. And so that's how I wrote the product backlog item for the launch. And then subsequent, like I wrote user stories for the subsequent PBIs. We did go into that, our minimal viable product, our MVP, went into that. And I was like, oh my gosh, we actually did that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I actually did that.
Yeah.
But it's not me, it's us, right?
Yeah.
I was a product owner for like a few sprints. And so now I'm a mentor, like a Scrum mentor. So I kind of support and mentor. Sometimes I coach the current product owner, kind of like with like the frame of mind when you're doing something and things like that. So it's a great organization.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that it exists. In terms of that, that's pretty much where I am with that. I still want to go on my continuous learning. I decided to step one because I want to honor the suggestion about like not holding that spot to give other people the opportunity to experience the role.
Yeah.
And then two, I was like, I need to like get time back so I can do the continuous learning.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I am now.
That's you're I can't wait to see where this goes.
I don't know.
Like,
it's crazy.
I'm even hoping like something can come out of even today. Like someone see this and be like, yo, talent right there. Let's go. Like seriously, what's your plan? Like what are the next steps for you? Where do you want to go with this?
So, right now, if there are opportunities internally, I did do some exploration and we're not there yet because again, the organization it's government, state government. So there's late adopters.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like itching, like I want to do it so bad. Like,
yeah.
Like, why don't we do it? And I remember I did a small project recently for my company. I'm like, okay, it's project management.
Yeah.
So I did I'm like, okay, let me build my project management portfolio. Right. Like all of it works together because I want to say this, because I have to say this, like, because of the nature of the market, I love Agile, I love Scrum. But I've also looked at, again, because I've done the work to gain the clarity, I want to work on things that have outcomes and impact.
Yeah.
And so if that looks like project management, okay. If that's program management, which I know a lot of the mid-sized to larger enterprise is program management, which I've been learning about program management.
Yeah.
And Scrum Masters and program managers are different, right? But at their core, at their essence, it's about impact. Teams and organizations, business value, it all focuses on outcomes and impact.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm all about. And I feel like I can bring my business background into that.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a different perspective than just a tech focused background. You have to understand how organizations work. How the why is this product so important to the business? It's not just nobody goes into, most people don't go into business looking to make money. They're looking to fill a need in the market.
Yeah.
And by fulfilling the need in
that is making money.
It's making money,
yeah.
Right? A lot of times, that's why I say it's the people side of technology or product development, or software development.
Yeah,
that's what the people
side.
I've been blessed to be with the organization. I've been in my organization for 10 years,
that's a long time.
Millennials don't do that.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Gen Zs don't do that.
Yeah,
yeah. But again, everything is for a reason. I had to learn. I had to grow up. I was like, I don't want to tell my age, but here we go. I was fresh out. I was 21, 22 when I started at my company.
Yeah.
Didn't have life figured out. And so the faster you can figure this thing out and make those pivots quicker.
Yeah.
Iterate.
Yeah.
Adapt quicker. Man, it took me a little time.
Yeah.
And I think at the root of it is mindset.
Yeah.
Mindset. Shifting my continuing to shift my mindset.
Yeah.
And that's the road to freedom.
I feel like that's there's so much wisdom in that, and that's such a profound statement that I think people get so much value from, which is because we're talking about shifting into a tech career, but there's so much beneath that. I feel like we barely even talked about shifting to a tech career. Yeah, you've moved into tech. Yeah, you're moving into tech. Yeah, you're on this journey, but there's so much beneath that.
Yeah.
Which you talked about mindset, and you talked about purpose and the value of people, and just so many different things there. I'm excited for what happens next in your story. And I'll be the first one to be like, yo, can we sit down again and
I
have a
would love
follow-up
to.
conversation?
It was so fun getting ready for this. Like, I don't like when you saw me, like most times I'm like clean face with my blue light blockers on. Like, I was like, oh, like I get to like dress up a little bit.
This is awesome. I'm so happy to have had this conversation with you. There's so much in your story that I feel like people could learn from just like getting a career coach. Like, people don't think about that. People don't think about the investment
and
of
it's
that.
okay. And you know what? It's so much. I've done so much. I forgot. If money is an issue with many people, like Black and brown people, like money is a blocker.
Yeah,
it's an impediment.
100%.
Tech Equity Collective. So Google and Management Leadership of Tomorrow have made a partnership. Like if you find the Tech Equity Collective, like Google it, and he'll drop it in the description box too. It's free. It's career coaches.
Wow.
Top tier career coaches. But I did that program because it was tech specific.
Yeah.
And I learned even more about how the ecosystem works. Like what kind of like startups versus enterprise, like big tech and like the different roles, software engineering, UX, UI, sales, like a lot, like tech sales is becoming a thing now. Like, because like in sales, whether it's tech or not, there is no ceiling.
Yeah.
Like Tech Equity Collective, I don't know if it's free or not, but Trabaja, it's Black and brown community or, allies, like get in there. Like it's a Slack community and they've started a tech career accelerator. Like if you need it, you'll find it.
Yeah. That's what's up. There's so much there. As we close, what advice would you give anybody who is looking to make a similar career transition that you're on right now? What would you tell them?
Oh, first I would tell them, like, people always appeal to tech because of the money. Now, money is great, right? But don't get into anything because of money.
Yeah.
Like, but if you feel like you have a skill set and you want to explore it, that's okay too. So I would say get clear or like immerse yourself in these communities so you can learn about what avenues you can take. But anybody, like tech really is for everyone.
Yeah.
Black and brown people are needed in the space.
Yeah.
Like the products need to be inclusive.
Yeah.
Because if you have one set of people like doing everything, they're not thinking about the experiences and the culture of this other groups of people. So, and I love that as well. And like, it does have great earning potential. Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, like, no. But like, it does. But don't lead with that. Yeah, lead because I'm like, man, like I can use my customer service background and like, ooh, customer success. Yeah. Or I can use X, Y, and Z, and I think I want to look at this into this. Like, so, like, get clear and explore. Yeah. Also forgot to say, Career Karma has a partnership with Tech Equity Collective. The Black Genius Academy. So, like, like there are Black and brown people that have created and founded and are partnering together, right? And so, but it's still a lot of work to be done. Yeah. And it's a both and thing. It's not, I know we live in a polarized society. It's not like, let's all these groups of people. It's like, yes, I want to help people of color, Black and brown people, BIPOC, whatever you call it. But also it takes the allyship of those who are not. Yeah. To like be the conduit to elevate these groups of people, the represented groups of people. Like it's both. Yeah. You can't do it in a silo. Wow. So yeah. Awesome. Jamisa, thank you so much for coming and being on the show and telling your story. Thank you for having me. Yeah, and I look forward to coming back. Yeah, we're going to have you back and we're going to tell your story once you have secured a role. And I can't wait to get the update and hear all the details about how you're putting to work, putting to practice all the things you've learned and all the effort you put in to make this transition. I seriously think you're going to kill it. Like, I can already tell that from your profile that you're going to kill it.
It's only a matter of time now.
I've been iterating on that.
It's only a matter of time. You're about to smash it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Awesome.